So I know Andrew Tate quite well, and obviously he's been a very controversial character. And he said he talked a lot more post imprisonment and attack on him. Right or wrong, I'm not here to judge about that. But he said it talked a lot more about publicising his philanthropy. Now, if you think about it, you don't really want to wave your philanthropy around. You want to do it because it's right. And people say, oh, well, you know, successful people, they make money one way. No, they don't. If you look at all successful people, they have multiple streams of income. Money is a mirror. It becomes what you are. The thought of there being a central bank digital currency where they can essentially control your money to the next level, to me, has to be stopped.
Rob, I was trying to work out when we first met, about 14, maybe 15 years ago. During that time, we built a huge property business, large training company, and quite a visible brand online. What do you think is the significance of having a brand these days, especially a personal branding business?
Yeah, well, there's three types of brand. There's the personal brand, the product brand, and the company brand. If you think of Apple, iPhone, and Steve Jobs, ticks all three. If you think about who was famous going back decades, the only people that used to be famous were movie stars, sports stars. And now, thanks to social media and the speed of information exchange, which is speed of light through fiber optics, anyone can become famous. And I don't like the word fame because it's either unwanted or done for the wrong reasons. I actually don't really like social media. I'm happy to talk about that. You know, I'm all over social media. You know, I bang on about social media. Not my natural flow. I do it because it's good for business.
Tool.
Exactly. A lever, like money. It's a good tool. So because of social media and the internet and the increased speed of information exchange, you don't need to be a movie star or a sports legend to get that reach, to reach millions of people. I mean, obviously on TikTok, you could sing and dance, still can. So context is everything, Saj. So if you don't want any attention, you probably don't want a personal brand. You can hide behind the company brand. Many billionaires are not people we know every day.
Not visible.
Yeah, they don't want to do that. Their companies and their products are the face of what they do. But if you want lower lead cost, if you want free lead cost, and you want to be able to turn your passion into your profession, building a personal brand is the best way.
So many people that are either watching or listening to this right now, they're in the property space. And when we talk about personal brand in property, what do you think is the benefit when it comes to raising money, trying to partner with people? If there's visibility, what control do we have over the brand? Do we create the brand and that's what we're known for, or do other people decide what the brand means?
I think both. Because if you were to get advised by a PR firm, what's your origin story? And, you know, they would use these, they would have a plan for you to control your message. If you think of damage control in PR, it is changing the story. Mm-hmm. So I know Andrew Tate quite well, and obviously he's been a very controversial character. And he said he talked a lot more post imprisonment and attack on him. Right or wrong, I'm not here to judge about that. But he said it talked a lot more about publicising his philanthropy. Now, if you think about it, you don't really want to wave your philanthropy around. You want to do it because it's right. But if people are going to put a message out about you, you might as well put a message out about you. And if people are going to speak ill or untruths about you, because that's what happens when you're successful, you can't deny it. Again, I can talk about that if you want. Then maybe you want to control your own narrative. So I think that you can create your own origin story and you can create your own personality brand. But at the same time, the market decides whether it likes it or not. I mean, if you think about, Coca-Cola is Coke. So people shorten it and they name it what they want to name it. So I think that back to the property space, I think leveraging a personal brand is great for raising finance, because you can essentially show your CV online and in a more interesting way. Your CV isn't really anymore what's written on 2 sheets of paper.
Yes,
it's your social media history.
Mm-hmm.
It's your lives and your videos. But yeah, I'd probably say your brand and reputation can be equally the story you create and the story that the market then takes on and people then take on.
So I'm thinking right now there's probably many cases of people that have done a little bit in property, done a couple of deals, and then they start teaching, training, sharing knowledge with the people, which is fine. But social media can be used as a tool to dress that up to way more than it is, because they control the messaging, what's seen, how it's seen. What impact do you think that
They can bullshit,
basically?
Yeah.
How do you think
People bullshit in person as well, don't they? I mean, the concept of bullshit is as old as the concept of Homo sapiens, isn't it?
On socially, you'll see a lot more flash cars, stuff, the bling, lifestyle, to make it look like something that they
can adapt. Yeah, true. It's probably easier on social media to.
So is it then less believable? Is it a case of, well, there's then a bullshit filter to say, actually, maybe
that would be a great filter, wouldn't it? You know, you can have filters on social. Imagine you had your bullshit filter and it immediately just got rid of all the nonsense. So what's the point you're driving at here?
So I'm thinking brand can be very powerful. We create the brand, we create what we people want to see, but actually, is it really perceived in that way, or people cautious?
You can bullshit someone for 5 minutes. You can't bullshit someone for 20 years. And Progressive Property's been going nearly 17 years. Not perfect. I'm not perfect. But you can't bullshit 17 years of being in the game. Now, I look at this with a balanced view. On the one hand, I would never say to anyone, I'd never want to squash anyone's dream. And if people need to hustle a bit, and, they're in survival mode, then, that phrase, fake it till you make it, sometimes you've got to do what you got to do. And as long as you're not going around screwing people over and losing hundreds of thousands of pounds and creating Ponzi schemes, sometimes you have got to show the best version of yourself. Now, I have never said I own this car if I don't. I've never said I own this property if I don't. But, for example, I could say I've done 20 deals. That's true. But how did I do those deals? Maybe I flipped 10 of them. Maybe I sold 10 of them to you. So you can be smart with your language.
Yes.
In a way to make your... Because if you read a CV... By the way, I've read some great CVs where the person was shit, and what they were good at was writing the fucking CV. I've seen loads of those. So, of course, you're going to embellish the story, but don't embellish to the point where it's bullshit. So, we're on the way up, you've probably got to do a bit of hustle. And it's just being smart about language and packaging yourself in the right way. But if you do bullshit, in the end, society will give you the feedback and you will get found out. So I don't think you need to. I think bullshitting comes from a place of scarcity, i.e., there's not enough money to go around. I'm not good enough. There is enough money to go around, and we've all got our own unique skills and talent. If you ask me about buy-to-let and high street lenders and stuff, I don't know shit all. But I have hundreds of properties and 1,350 tenants that we manage. Because I've not been dealing with that level of beginnerness and detail for 15 years. So some people know more about buying their first 5 properties than I do, because I bought my first 5 properties nearly 20 years ago.
So is all publicity good publicity then? When I was growing up as a kid, they
don't say being paedophile is good publicity. So That's just no. All publicity is not good publicity. I don't agree with that. I would not want to be associated on Epstein. Like that is. There are certain things that no. That's
So there's a line to be drawn when clout chasing.
yeah. What's clout chasing mean? Leveraging the brand of other people.
I think so. I think that's my understanding of it.
And is that what Samuel Leeds did to me when he called me out for a fight because I was the bigger brand?
Actually, that one.
I see you've got.
I've got it.
That was salt beef, but it's Samuel Leeds.
It's exactly Samuel Leeds beef.
So I'll just finish the previous point because I hate unfinished points. No, not all publicity is good publicity, but you can make the best of the publicity that you get. I.e., some people worry about mistakes that they make. But if you look on TikTok, you'll see that often if there's a spelling mistake in your video, it gets more engagement because people are correcting your spelling. So it's not always bad to make mistakes. So don't worry about making mistakes and know that you will get better. And don't worry if you're not exactly in the niche you want to be in the future. Because whilst it can take, they say it takes 10 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to destroy it, but it can also be recovered.
There's many times where people have damaged a brand or reputation and then have been able to recover from it.
Unless it's fiddling kids. You ain't recovering from that.
Yeah. So Samuel Leeds beef, is that genuine beef then, or was that just an amazing PR stunt?
Well, thank you for the compliment. I think it was a good PR stunt. Like PR stunts are free marketing. And even people in my industry who are competitors of mine have done videos telling everyone how great the marketing was.
Yes.
So
I saw one this morning.
Yeah, I've done some decent marketing campaigns in my time and some shit ones as well, of course. But yeah, this is one of the better ones. Is the beef real? Well, he is a competitor.
Yeah.
He is an upstart, but he's also doing well. He has got a polarizing reputation, as you know, and I don't mind talking about that. Did I want to knock him out? Absolutely, I did.
Yeah.
And I went all out and tried my best. Everyone thought I'd just run away from him for 3 rounds. I did not run away from him at all. And so, yeah, the beef was real. It wasn't like we're secretly best friends and, we're pretending. Like a lot of the shit that he said, I think he believed. And yeah, he played a good villain. He was a good panto. Well, I mean, look, if you're a Samuel Leeds fan, he's not the villain, is he?
Yeah.
But he played his part well. The beef was real. It was a PR stunt. And yeah.
So who does have the largest property training company then? Wasn't that what the beef was about?
Who has the biggest willy?
Wasn't what I was going to say, but
no, but that's what others would say. Well, if you want an accurate and honest answer, it'd be difficult to tell actually, because how do you measure it?
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be the thing.
Yeah,
question I was going to ask.
He reckons he had 3,000 people a month through his training. We easily have that. The Facebook groups are sort of equal size. We've written a few more books and probably sold a lot more, but we've been doing it longer. He's come up on the rise quite quick. You can't. I don't deny what's real.
Mm-hmm.
I would what's bullshit. And what's real is he's come up quite quick. He's invested a lot of money in learning from other people. The thing is, there are people say, you go to companies, so you go on, and find what people own. You don't know what he owns. I have no idea what he owns. If you look at someone like Mark Homer, my business partner, and you look at someone like Samuel Leeds, you can make your own decision who's more likely to be the bigger bullshitter out of the two of them. I know what we've got, and I know how long we've been doing it, and I know the size of our database. And really, shouldn't the question be who's better?
Well, let me phrase it slightly differently then. So you're a big fan of disruption.
Yeah,
it's clearly disrupted the property training industry.
Well, so did we. I mean, you met me at Berkshire Property Meet, you remember?
Before that, yeah.
Everyone was, grey suit from Marks and Spencer's, white shirt. just talking about buy-to-let, and Mark and I, spiky hair, stripy shirts, talking about deal packaging,
pointy shoes,
pointy shoes, and creative finance, and we brought a very different energy to the space, and I think it was a good play back then. He is disruptive in all senses of the word. Samuel is. He's noisy. He's larger than life. So he's disruptive in maybe the negative sense as well as the positive sense. You know, if I'm tipping my hat to Samuel Leeds, he was the first person in our industry to really leverage YouTube. And, you know, I know most of the competitors. I've been in this industry 17 years. I know what most of them do well and not well. And he is one of the people that is responsible for me upping my YouTube game. Because, I mean, he did that financial freedom challenge. Whether true or not true, it made for good viewing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would acknowledge that as disruption. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. I was at the Birmingham Soppy that weekend.
When he came in disguise. Yeah.
And I was chatting to him. I didn't realise it was him at the time.
Man.
I was trying to sell a deal for him. I said, yeah, what have you got? I've got somebody in that area. I can try and make a call for you.
Yeah.
And then he turned up my networking event later in the evening as well.
Yes. Yeah, we kicked him out of that event. Well, Kevin McDonough, one of our trainers, partners, kicked him out. MSOPR, just people who don't know, multiple streams of property income at one of our property events. Yeah, so
you're the secret of the admirer then, you're saying? Let's move on.
No, let's look at this properly. I don't mind talking about, you know me, I don't mind talking about anything. Generally, what we do with other humans is judge them on our own values and morals. And what we generally do is if there's similar values, morals, and ethics, we like them. And if there's not, we don't. But we all have different values, morals, and ethics. I try and transcend that. And I try and look at someone and go, I mean, you know, I know who I resonate with. And maybe I don't resonate with, but can you learn from anyone? And can you look at people who are competitors and people you don't necessarily like and still admire traits in them? Yes, I can. He said we're frenemies. So they were his words. And maybe that's all we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never heard that phrase until he said it. Yeah.
So in this space, there's lots and lots of property trainers. At one time, there was a few. I mean,
there's a lot more.
Well, when I started in property, there was probably a handful of property networking events around the country. And now there's lots and lots. So how do people find who's right for them? And who is right? Is it one company, organization right for everyone in terms of learning? Because I've learned from lots and lots of different people over the years.
Yeah.
And I think I've benefited from most of it. Some of it's been not so great, but
yeah,
most of it's been that's life, beneficial.
Yeah, you go to a restaurant, sometimes the food is good, sometimes the food isn't good. That's normal. The thing is, you can always learn something, even if it's don't use them again.
Yeah.
You know, everything is a lesson. And personally, I like to learn from a breadth of sources. But there does come a point where you can be like too many gurus, especially if they say opposite things and they do the, you know, don't buy your own home, buy your own home. That's the classic one in our space. And if you end up listening to everyone, you'll end up being overwhelmed. So I would say, look at the people who've got the results you want and look at the people who've been doing it a long time and look at the people whose energy and vibe and values and ethics and morals, you know, that you can vibe with. And that'll narrow it down from 50 to 5 immediately. You know, because, for example, my friend Simon's your friend as well, Simon Zucci. You know, if you've got a bit of money and you've sort of retired from the corporate world, there's quite a fit there. But with Samuel, he attracts a lot of non-English people coming over into this country. And then, you know, we'd attract a lot of people who are sort of starting out, trying to get on the ladder, and we get them good at raising finance. So we probably all got slightly different ways of doing it. So I like breadth. But the thing is, if you're not clear on who you are, then you're going to get very confused with everybody else's opinions. And so you still got to know, what do you want to achieve? So for me, I knew I wanted to do property big time, not part time, not even full time. I wanted to do it big time. I knew I wanted to create multiple streams of income through property. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur and a business owner for a very long time. So I knew, therefore, that I wanted to go into the bigger deals and things like that. If you want a lifestyle, where you want 4 holidays a year and you want to travel a lot, maybe you want to do deal packaging a bit more than some of the strategies. I mean, we talk about this at our multiple streams of property income event. So, but, sometimes people say, I went on this course and it wasn't very good. Maybe that's the case, given the feedback. Maybe try and get a credit to do another course. But if you can't learn anything from everything, there's something wrong with you, I think.
In an event, you can go to an event, there's 100 people there learning something, some new amazing strategy that's being taught. A year later, get those same 100 people back together. But often only very few of them have achieved the results.
Are you surprised by that?
It's not surprising. It's common. Yeah. So maybe that's why I'm not surprised.
Do you like martial arts? Do you do any martial arts?
In an observation capacity.
Okay, fine. So imagine you own a dojo, karate.
Yeah.
How many white belts get to black belt?
Probably very few.
Yeah. 1%. I don't know what the numbers are. If someone's in martial arts, put it in the comments. And if you get really good, maybe you could double that. Let's say 5% of white belts get to black belt.
Yeah.
And let's say you're really good. What are you going to get up to? 7%, 8%, 10%? You're never going to get it even anywhere near 50% because there's too many variables.
Yeah.
There's too many other things to be interested in. So here's what I know. You can have good systems and processes. You can teach stuff that works. You can do it yourself. You can lead the horse to water. You can put a bucket right under its nose, but you cannot make it drink. Only you can implement what you learn.
Yes.
We as property traders, educators, masterminders, teachers, consultants, whatever you want to call us, influencers, we can learn from, being in the industry a long time and better systems and processes and knowing the objections and knowing support and challenge. And, we've run masterminds for many years, of which I remember, and, knowing when to call someone out that maybe they're playing the violin on themselves a bit, or knowing when to give them sort of sympathy and support. And there's a fine line there. So you can be good, better, best, but you're never going to get all white belts to be black belt. It's just impossible.
When I first started, I was just desperate to get started. And what I was looking for was who's doing amazing things. I'd look at a result and I think that's where I want. And I think I spent a lot of time chasing somebody else's results, what they were achieving, as opposed to maybe that may not be the right strategy for me. And it took quite a while, probably a couple of years actually, before I got my first little bit of real money in property. And that makes me think, is it right to be learning lots of things at the same time? In property, there's so many different ways to make money. Or actually, should we be narrowing down into what might be the right fit for us? Do we match that strategy? And then that increases our chance of success by just focusing on that one.
I created this time division model. Relatively simple. I think the best things that work in life are simple. And I call it 70-20-10. I've actually written about it again in the book that I'm writing called Money Matrix. And I recommend that 70% of your time is on your main strategy. 20% of your time is on a secondary strategy, and 10% of your time is research, future strategies, getting a bit distracted, looking into AI and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
If you're 100% in one thing, what happens if the market changes? What happens if you don't enjoy it really? Then you put your eggs in one basket. And people say, successful people, they make money one way. No, they don't. If you look at all successful people, they have multiple streams of income, all of them. Mm-hmm. But they don't start with 7.
Yes.
So the problem is people look at someone's end result, but they forget the 30 years. Because I see this sometimes. I've seen people rip us off. Trainers of ours rip us off but they're copying us 17 years too early. They didn't go through the journey. So, you look at Elon Musk and think about how many companies he now has, and it grows and grows and grows. He just launched an AI company. Of course, he just bought Twitter. You got SpaceX. You got Tesla. There's at least 2 others. Put them in the comments.
But they didn't all happen at the same time. Yeah.
But he doesn't just run one business. He runs multiple businesses, but he didn't start all those businesses at the same time. Now, if you want a little hack, this is something I call cross-stream leverage, which is if you, I see this all the time. Well, their current vocation is they're a doctor. They're doing buy-to-let and they're doing a wellness podcast. And the problem with that is they're all unrelated.
Yeah.
So there's no leverage. Whereas if you get a job in an estate agent selling property, and then you buy a property for yourself, and then you run a property training business, and then you start a property management company, that's in the same niche. So each time you go into the new, this is, I think, why progressive is quite unique. I know it's got its downsides, everything has. I'll never say we're perfect. But there's a lot of people who train in property haven't really got that much property. And a lot of people who've got a load of property don't train in it. I see it. We're one of the few that do both. Because we've got myself and we've got Mark. So we've got those different skills. But we learned that instead of trying all the new shit, do something that's similar to what you've been doing for the last 3 years. So we worked for a property sourcer. Let's say we'd source 35 to 50 deals for other people. Well, then there's not much difference between sourcing for others and sourcing for yourself. There might be 25% difference. So you've already created 75% of the leverage. Then we source for ourselves. And then when you source for yourselves and others and you've done 100 deals, well, you've got enough information to write a book on it and then launch a course on it. So
I think as entrepreneurs, it's a natural trait to be just constantly distracted by other things. Or is it a subsection of people that constantly need something else going on?
Yeah, I think you've got to know yourself well, because I like to have a few things going on, but there's still a maximum for me at which productivity and results go down. Mark's not like that at all. Mark likes to have one main thing he's working on, and he literally shuns everything else. So he just literally pushes it away. He's physically pushed people out of his office like that when they bring in something that he's not working on at the time. So I think you've got to know the best way that you work. At the moment, for example, I'm writing my book, Money Matrix, but it's also creating spin-offs to write my next 3 books. And I can manage that, but I couldn't, I know I couldn't manage 2 other jobs or 1 other job. But there is a sort of, I don't like the word hack, but there are quicker ways to achieve a result. There is always leverage. I mean, if you think of the javelin, it's a lever to jump higher compared to your high jump. And no, there's not get rich quick, but there is get rich quicker. And so let's say you're really good getting excited for the first 6 months, but you're terrible at finishing. Well, then start these businesses and then put managers in place. And know what you're good at and know what you're not good at, and hire people who are good at what you're not good at. And that is a hack, because it means that you can achieve results beyond your own capacity and skill set. So instead of becoming a finisher, improve being a starter and find a good finisher. Because you're sort of taught, aren't you, to work on your weaknesses. School kind of teaches you. Like, if you think about it, I got 2 A stars, 6 A's and 2 B's in GCSE. And the first thing everyone said was, well, why were those 2 B's not A's? But actually what would have been better is if I didn't give a fuck about them completely, wrote them off because I knew I was going to be shit at them, get an E at them, and get 100% of my 2 A stars. But that's kind of not how we're taught. But, the great thing about being an entrepreneur, I don't know about you, but I love being an entrepreneur. you get rewarded for your creativity.
Yeah.
And essentially, being a successful entrepreneur is the opposite of what the system teaches you. And you know, my wife's like, I probably shouldn't say this, but fuck it. I've got a big house, and I walked downstairs naked, and my wife's like, you can't do that. And I said to her, yes, I fucking can, because this is my house. And she went, but you know, the kids. And I said, well, so what? Anyway, she says, you've never ever liked being told what to do, have you? And I was like, no, I didn't become rich and an entrepreneur for any other reason other than I don't like being told what to do. And some people need to be told what to do. They're probably better in the military or some other, because, you know, I would be terrible in the military, but of course that's really a necessary, useful and valuable job. So I think knowing yourself and then embracing that, I think that is the key to success.
Yes.
Otherwise, you end up feeling like you're not the main character in your own story.
Mm. So I've been to your house, so thank you for the visual of walking around naked. We were talking
It's
about...
funny because I've got, you know that glass wall I've got where I can see my cars. I can also see my reflection in it, so I can see the size of my...
I think we need to move on from this bit. But talk about people in school and education, we're indoctrinated to think in a certain way.
Mm.
So can anybody choose a life of entrepreneurship and do well? Is it for everybody?
It's not for everybody.
So can anybody just say, right, I'm going to quit what I'm doing, I'm going to make 100 grand a year working for myself?
They can try. Yeah, because it's legal. So anyone can, and I would suggest to anyone, if you've got a desire and it's been sat there for a while, what's the worst that's going to happen? Is everyone made to be like Elon Musk? No. Is everyone made to be like Tim Cook? No. Is everyone made to be like Hussain? No. Not everyone has the skills to be an entrepreneur, or at least they don't naturally have those skills, so they may have more friction in learning them. But for example, my MD, she makes a really good salary. She's really fucking good at her job. And she knows she's more of an intrapreneur. And, you know, these people say, oh, well, you know, if you're employed, you're broke. Tim Cook's worth 1.9 billion and he's an employee. Not fucking bad. So Tim Cook has clearly, and Terry Leahy, you know, he was stacking shelves at Tesco's. And then, of course, he, you know, became the CEO or the head of it or whatever. So there's different ways to get to whatever goal you're looking for. I think you want to learn skills that make you valuable. And then the ones where there seems to be the lowest amount of friction, you want to double down on those. Whereas society will teach you, oh yeah, but you're not very good at maths, so you better get your maths grade up. If you want to be an entrepreneur, fuck maths, get someone else who's a genius at maths, pay them 50 a year and get them to write your algorithms, get them to do your coding, and what you're good at, you know, all of that. And, you know, there has to be some trial and error in that. So I'm pretty good at sales and marketing. And I didn't think I was, and I didn't like it at first, but tried it and actually became quite good at it. But yeah, I'm much more of a fan now. Like John DeMartini is one of my friends. He says that he thinks it's wise to understand what your values are and build your life around your values and delegate everything else. But the problem is most people are delegating to themselves, or they're doing stuff being delegated to them instead of being the delegator. Mm. And I want to be the delegator. But I don't want to delegate what I'm really good at. I want to get better at what I'm really good at.
To be outstanding at the things that you're already great at, rather than spending your time and energy doing the things that you're mediocre at, to improve those.
Yeah, because if you think about the law of friction, you know, money loves speed and hates friction. It's going to be so much friction for you to try and improve something you're shit at that you don't like. There's going to be minimal friction in you getting better at something you love. So, but that's just not how it's taught. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want to be a business owner and an entrepreneur, there's some skills you're going to need, which maybe you're not, let's say you're not naturally a people person, you're more of a coder. Harry and I know someone, I won't mention his name, but he'll get wind of this and he won't mind me saying, but he just fucking hates people. And like he says, my ideal job is to run a zoo because I like animals more than people. And he said if he had the job between doing customer service or going to prison, he'd go to prison much rather than dealing with people's shit all day. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? But that's good self-awareness. So get really fucking good at coding. Like, I don't want a coder who's a charmer. I want a coder who's fucking good at coding. And if they don't like people, I'll give them Red Bull and a really fucking good computer that they can get an erection over or whatever else they get nowadays and crack on. But, you know, people are trying to change everyone into being something that they're not.
So where do you see the biggest misunderstanding around money in terms of education, school, people coming out through education system now? What do you think the biggest misunderstanding is around money?
Oh, there's loads. In fact, I've just finished a chapter where I wrote of 9 common misconceptions. So let me try and pick 3 of the most common. Number 1 is that money is hard to come by. Do people think that money flows with ease and speed? No, they think you have to work hard for it, and you know it's hard labor. It is for most people because they don't understand how abundant money is. I mean, the central banks and governments know how abundant money is because they can just print trillions of it. So if you have the belief that money is hard to come by, you'll work hard for your money rather than having your money work hard for you. Number 2 is that money changes you. So a lot of people actually sabotage their own wealth because they wouldn't want their friends or family. You know when people say, oh, don't never forget where you came from. Well, I came from Newmarket. Fuck all happens in Newmarket. So I'm not going to go around being proud. Oh, yeah, you know, can't take Newmarket out of the... What's it the saying? You can take the boy out of Newmarket, but you can't take Newmarket out of the boy. Yeah. No, like I want to change. I want to grow. So... yeah, I've changed.
But does money just amplify what you...
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, if you're a philanthropist, you're going to donate more. If you're a terrorist, you're going to get better bombs, aren't you? Yeah, it is the way that the money works. So money doesn't change you, it amplifies you. That's a good way of looking at it. It enables you. It's a lever. And the big one, especially in religion, religious indoctrination, is that money or the love of money is the root of all evil.
Where do you think that stems from?
Misunderstanding about money and lack of context and probably translation issues. I mean, I imagine it was pretty fucking expensive being Jesus. Like, do you know it was really expensive to take Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi around the world? You know, all these people that were apparently major philanthropists, what do you think? How did they travel from place to place? And Mother Teresa would happily take donations from Robert Maxwell, who embezzled £350 million, I think it was. So, yeah, they don't understand economics. And actually, one of the best subjects that we should learn is economics. But the problem is economics is kind of taught in a very theoretical way. It's not taught in a practical way. And my teachings are, I honour economics, things like, you know, supply and demand and the law of production and these things. And, you know, the different systems like capitalism that we have, although there's no true capitalist society anymore, but you know, by understanding these, but, you know, making it relevant to your life. Like, you could give me £20 or $20 and I could go and donate that to 20 starving kids in Africa, and they might have 20 days worth of food. Or I could go and buy 20 bullets and shoot all 20 of them. What's the difference? Money is the lever. Money is as good an invention as the wheel for leverage. It's just a lever. It's an enabler. It's not inherently good or bad, though. It's not conscious. So how can money be bad if it's not conscious?
It's not whoever controls it, making the decisions around what it does.
Money is a mirror. It becomes what you are. So if you're a philanthropist, money becomes a gift or a donation or an investment. If you're a terrorist, money becomes a weapon.
So is it easier to make money now than it was maybe, say, 15 years ago?
It's different.
Okay.
It's different. There are new first world problems in making money. So before the internet, your biggest challenge around making money was actually getting the right education. Now,
Information was the challenge.
yeah, exactly, because it wasn't pervasive. Now I see some kids on TikTok talking about how to be a man, but they're a kid. Fuck. And now the problem isn't lack of information, it's too much information. I think the opportunity is more abundant than ever.
Yeah.
With social media and, the pervasive nature of information that you can gain for free or for paid. So I think there's new problems. But if having been doing this for 17 years and starting from scratch, do I think it's easier or harder to make money now? Based on my own skill set, I'd probably say it's easier.
Mm-hmm. What's the advantages that we have now that enables us to make money faster than, say, 15, 17 years ago?
Access to information much quicker. So, for example, using AI, I might get my book written in 3 weeks instead of 3 months because of how much less time the research takes. So, money loves speed and hates friction. And if you look at the evolution of money, essentially it's sped up from barter and exchanging shoes and parts of animals to transactions online that travel at the speed of light, which is why I fear that a central bank digital currency is coming. But yeah, so you gain access to information much more quickly. You gain access to customers much more quickly. Like if you wanted to grow, you had to open a shop, get a loan from the bank manager, and you could only get people in the shop who walked by the shop. Now you can get everyone on the globe into your online shop. So, it's first world problems now. Yeah.
So you touched on digital currencies, and how do you see these things impacting us over the next few years? And what major changes, do you say, in the next 5 years will change the way as businesses and entrepreneurs that we work?
Yeah. So as an entrepreneur who believes in free markets and capitalism and competition and fairness and minimal regulation, I am a fan of decentralized currencies and assets, and I am scared, not a fan of, but scared of centralized control. So I think Bitcoin is great as a decentralized medium of exchange, or, well, whether it's a medium of exchange, people might argue with that. They might say it's a store of value, whatever. But I like that it's decentralized because it improves society through getting the competition to step up if you have a competitive environment. But then what happens is the communist or socialist controls go, yeah, we'll have that and we'll centralize it, and the state will own it. And the thought of there being a central bank digital currency where they can essentially control your money to the next level, to me, has to be stopped. Like if you want any form of freedom, you must resist this.
Yeah.
Because they can just reverse transactions, spy on your financial transactions. There's no privacy. They can manipulate monetary policy even more with a central currency.
So they could even determine what you can and can't spend your money on.
Yeah, they could if they wanted to, couldn't they? Yeah, they can't with cash. They want cash gone. That's obvious, isn't it? Because they can't control it. And so they want more control. They could tax at source. I mean, employees are taxed at source. That sucks. Entrepreneurs and business owners aren't, although we do pay some tax on account now. But those few taxes that you pay later that you can offset, well, that might be gone. Yeah, like I will be in the rallies if they try and impose a central bank digital.
Well, if it's centralised, there won't be any rallies because they'll stop you.
Well, that's it.
The bus and
well, yeah,
they'll stop your car from travelling there.
Did you notice Rishi trying to increase the authority to stop protests, give the police more power to stop protests? I'm not a fan of violence, and I think you can make money way more easily legally than you can illegally. But we should be able to have a voice, and we should be able to peacefully protest. And I don't like where that goes.
What other changes do you think we'll see in the next few years that will impact us as entrepreneurs and property people?
Interest rates and inflation really affect property investors. The higher the interest rate goes, the sooner the crash is coming, in my opinion. You might have a view on this. I'm nearly in my second full cycle now, nearly. How long have you been in the property game?
Nearly 17 years.
Yeah, so similar, about the same as me.
Slow start.
Yeah, but you've seen you've seen one full cycle and a bit. And the more you've seen, the more you can predict. Because generally the past is a good determinant of the future, because humans don't tend to learn from their mistakes, if they are indeed mistakes. So property prices, I think, are very high, relatively. Affordability is very low. Our buying power is very low.
Restricted.
Yeah, I think after lockdown, our relative value of money was the lowest since the Second World War, which is obviously really bad. So as a property investor, you always want to look at what interest rates are, because that obviously affects cash flow, because it affects the cost of your borrowing. Now, I've got two examples here of how this has affected us. We've got 130,000 square foot 99 apartment block on a 12-year fixed mortgage at 2.7%. And that got completely unaffected by interest rates. We have another 42 unit apartment that's gone up 4.5% in interest from 0.5 to 5, because that's what rates are now.
Yeah.
So one of them has gone from really good positive cash flow to zero, even with increasing the rent. And the other one still makes 120 gross and 80 grand net a month in cash flow.
So what do you think will happen? Some of the landlords have been in the business a long time. They've still got property in their personal name. Interest is really sky high right now. Constant change in regulation. Do you think we'll start seeing a shrinkage in rental stock? Or do you think that's what it will lead to? Or do you think a new form of entrepreneur will take over and step in?
So the short answer to your question is yes, because markets always change. And I remember when I got into property, no one was talking about lease options, installment contracts, rent to rent, rent to SA. No one was talking about this stuff. Markets change, and opportunities to make money change, and government regulation change. Yeah, Mark says to me, I'm so glad we moved all of our companies from personal name into... I'm so glad I moved all of our properties into a company, taking it away from our personal name, because they changed the interest rate relief. But what happens generally is regulation is introduced to control a market. You like to think it's for the good of the market. But then when entrepreneurs make too much money, or governments need to take control, or want more revenue, want to make more tax, they remove some of the tax breaks. And that just goes round inside.
They ultimately control the market, and they can make decisions that will completely change the way we operate.
Yeah, so the things that trend and the things that happen in the world can create new markets. Like you were just talking about going to Tony Robbins' event, and lockdown probably gave that event the opportunity to be run online that it wouldn't have happened, because a Tony Robbins event is an experience, but lockdown changed that. So a market can change it, or a new problem or a pain can change it. Oh yeah, and the government. I personally think the governments over-intervene in things like lockdowns and taxes, but I think in other areas they under-intervene. But then that's through my biased lens of being an entrepreneur. But if they want to rebuild the economy, they need to get the entrepreneurs on side, because the entrepreneurs are the ones that employ all the people. Small business owners are the ones that employ all the people. funds the public sector.
Or they'll move somewhere else where it's more entrepreneur friendly.
That's it. Have you seen the Laffer curve? Put it up on the screen if you want. So the tax Laffer curve starts at 0 and goes to 0. A government will have 0 income tax a government will have 0 income from tax, because it's not always income tax, it's capital gains, everything else, if it charges 0. But it will have 0 if it charges 100%. If you're charged 100% tax, you will leave.
Nobody pay it.
You cannot. Yeah. So the Laffer curve is like a bell, and there's an optimum, and it's not 50, 60 or 70% where it is now. That's why, have you got friends that talked about leaving the country and going to Dubai and all this? Yeah. Have you thought about it yourself? You fucking have, haven't you? I know you like to stay neutral, but have you at least considered it or thought about it?
Yeah. It does make sense having some business interests overseas.
Yeah, and if Dubai's going, hey, come to Dubai because we don't charge you any tax, well, you have to be careful when people say they don't charge you any tax. You'll pay tax, you always pay tax, but, you know, they obviously have a very rich government. So if they, people will leave if the tax is too high. Yeah, if I didn't have kids in school and they weren't very settled and I didn't have my parents and my wife's parents here, just saying, I'd be gone.
Yeah.
I would be gone. I'd be much more of a vagabond.
Where was the first place you would go?
It depends what for. To hide the money, to make the money, to enjoy the life.
To make the money.
You know, if I wanted to make the money, I think Dubai looks like a good place to make money. It likes entrepreneurs.
It attracts tech people of that mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Texas the same. You know, it doesn't have a huge state tax like, for example, the western side of America's much higher state tax.
California.
Yeah. So, but you have to be careful. Some places that may not have a high tax also aren't very good for running your business. Like, I know a lot of people, they go to countries like Cyprus or whatever, but it's a bit sleepy. And you got to think about what you want as a person. I want buzz, I want commerce, I want creators and stuff like that. So, but then I'd probably not want to be in Dubai at the height of summer. So I'd probably want to bounce around a bit. Yeah. I wrote a book on that called Life Leverage, if anyone's interested.
So in terms of a winning mindset, we'll use that as our last question. What do you think creates a winning mindset?
Okay, so one of my favorite subjects is a winning mindset, I believe, is one that is adaptable and not fixed. I think a fixed mindset cannot handle change, but the only constant in life is change. I don't know where you feel your most stress and anxiety. I can tell you where I feel it, and I think most humans are the same, in things we cannot control.
100%.
So one of the reasons I love being an entrepreneur is if shit goes wrong, I can fucking fix it. So I can get some control back. So if you are adaptable, malleable, you can evolve. That is if you look at Darwin's Origin of Species, he essentially said that. He said it, I think he either said it's not the strongest or the fittest, but it's the most adaptable to change.
That's what.
So I think this is why we're approaching our third decade in business, because we've adapted and evolved. Now, there are some spin-off things from this. Number one is, where the change occurs, you'll be okay. So often we think, oh my God, my life's going to be over if X happens. But actually, in reality, often it's better. So, for example, with the Samuel Leeds fight, if there's one person you don't want to lose a boxing match to in our industry, it's Samuel Leeds. And I know you're a nice, neutral, balanced guy, Saj, but that smile says it all. If you could zone in on his smile, like, you know.
I do want to take you there.
Yeah. No, I don't mind, because that was one of the reasons why I chose it. And the only thing I lost was the fight. Oh, and a stone and a half in weight. My moobs, as my son calls them, my nan boobs. So We won the crowd. We won there wasn't a competition on integrity, but if there were, we won that. And there's so many things we won. And I even thought about it, because if anyone watched the fight, a lot of people thought I won. There was a controversial slip stroke, very light knockdown in round 1, which of course he's going to say is a knockdown, and I'm going to say it's not. But he got everything he wanted in the negotiation, and he won by the skin of his teeth. I gave everything away, and I think put on a good show. But there was a couple of fights that were mismatched. And I said to the event organizer, you make sure that ref fucking goes easy. So the ref went easy on me, when in reality, it wasn't a knockdown. And so I thought, the fact that I cared so much about my guys and their well-being, it probably lost me my fight. So would I rather win at all costs or lose with integrity? That's what my wife said to me. It was a really good question. And so someone asked me about the stress of business. Business isn't fucking stressful. Business is fucking awesome. But here's the thing I believe about life. I think that life and nature and the universe is far more intelligent than me. And, some people who really believe in God, they're like, God has great plans for me. And, I was convinced I was going to win the fight. I was very confident. But I realize now it wasn't meant. And when people say it wasn't meant to be, they can say it with some sadness and remorse. No. Don't be sad and remorse that it wasn't meant to be. Be grateful that nature is infinitely more wise than you. I mean, when I used to pick girlfriends, I was fucking terrible at picking my own girlfriends, stitching myself up left, right, and centre. And I went, in the end, I'm now married to her. I've been with her 17 years. I'm now with someone who I wouldn't have intuitively picked. So actually, I think sometimes as humans, I think we're quite an arrogant species, and I think we're not as smart as we think we are. Nature's far smarter, or the universe, or intelligence. So I do my best. I have a goal for something to go a certain way, and then when it doesn't, I accept that as the way it should have been, and that's helped me. It also, like, stress is the projection of a painful or perceived negative outcome in the future. But there's two types of stress. There's eustress and distress. Mm-hmm. Distress is, I'm going to be fucked, everything's over. And eustress is like, when you have pressure before a deadline, or you do an all-nighter at uni and you find, you get your work in time, or the day before you go on holiday where you get fucking loads done.
Can relate to all those.
Exactly. So for me, it's trying to, that pressure can be really good. Donald Trump says the difference between the well-educated Harvard, Ivy League people he knows who aren't really rich and the billionaires is their ability to handle pressure and stress. So there's some things I think are probably useful for people in a winning mindset. But the word winning, define winning. I mean, I would say a growth mindset is a better way of wording it.
Thanks for that.
Pleasure.
Rob, what's the best way for people to connect with you if they're not already connected with you?
I'm on any social media on Rob Moore or Rob Moore Progressive. I've written a lot of books, Money and Life Leverage. And if you want the property one, Property Investing Secrets, I've got a podcast called Disruptors, which is conveniently placed behind us there.
Great product placement. Rob, thank you so much.
Thanks, Saj.
Pleasure. Thank you.